Hello, welcome everyone to our What's Buzzing at Georgia Tech Safe Spring Break 2025. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Sharon Brownlow, Director of Parent and Family Programs. And of course, y'all know spring break is next week. And today we hope to provide some encouragement, nudging you to hopefully have a really productive conversation with your student about things concerning health and safety and well-being. And I'm really excited to welcome Joi Alexander, Director of the Wellness Empowerment Center, to really just help us with this conversation, helping us think about what we need to talk to our students about over the next couple of days as that spring break approaches. And so we just really want to hope that this is a proactive kind of conversation with us today so that you can then go and have a productive and proactive conversation with your student. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Joi. We will take some questions at the end, but I know she's got some good content to get through. So with that, Joi.
Thank you, Sharon. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be back. I know I have the pleasure of speaking with you all about my department of the Wellness Empowerment Center and the services we provide for students. So I'm happy to be back the week before spring break to be able to inform you on the messaging that we provide for students. So this is just a snapshot of some of the messages that we will provide for students at our event that we are hosting on Thursday. So I will start. One, we inform students of the importance of making sure that someone close to them knows where they are traveling to. I know it sounds very simple, yet that's very vital that individuals are able to know where they are traveling to, where they are staying. That's important as well, to ensure that if anything ever happened, they would know who to contact, where to contact, to follow up. And so sometimes, depending on where they're traveling, receptions and Wi-Fi and data and all of those things could play a role. So we absolutely inform students to make sure someone close to you knows where you are staying when you are traveling, and if you choose to travel, just so that they can follow up if needed. The second tip we provide students is to know the laws. So oftentimes, spring break with college students, they travel out of the country, right? And so when you're traveling out of the country, it's important that you educate yourself. We inform students to educate themselves on the federal, state, and local laws that could be in place in that location that are different than the state of Georgia. That's important as well. So that they are aware of what is allowed and what is not allowed, and so that they can arrive and return safely. The third one we provide is sometimes students travel by airplane and sometimes they take a road trip, right? So if you are taking a road trip, do not drive distracted. So eliminating texting and driving or doing anything that could distract you from the road, or do not drive if you are sleepy. Research has proven that when you are sleepy, the effects are just the same as if you were intoxicated. And so making sure that they understand that if they are sleep deprived or if they are distracted, that is not the way that they want to hit the road, to make a road trip or to take a road trip. Alcohol safety. So with that, we inform students that if you are over 21, I outlined 21 just because that is the legal age. If they choose to drink, and remembering that choosing alcohol is a choice, right? So everyone that is of age to drink does not mean that they have to drink. It is a choice if they choose to engage, that they, one, set a limit, right, of how many drinks that they should have. So we educate students on what is a standard drink and making sure that they understand that whether it's a shot, whether it's a mixed drink, whether it's wine or beer, all of those are considered a standard drink. And when it comes to setting your limit, it's recommended that individuals do not drink more than one drink per hour, right? So making sure that they set a limit, they pace themselves. So we also talk about the importance of eating before and during drinking to help the absorption of alcohol, to slow it down so that they don't feel the effects as quick, and to alternate with water to make sure that they stay hydrated. So that's an important tip as well. If students are choosing to drink to one, set a limit of how much you're going to have, pace yourself to make sure that you don't drink very quickly, which means that shots are not the option because of the fact that they are quick, and then to alternate with water to stay hydrated. We also talk about sun protection. That's important as well, just because in Georgia, the weather is a little tricky. Saturday was beautiful in the 70s. Today it's cold and raining. So depending on where they are going, the weather could mean it could be hot. And so making sure that they are protecting themselves from the sun by drinking a lot of water. Eating, right? That's important as well. And always wearing sunscreen with the SPF of 15 or higher. And to make sure that they reapply every 2 hours. So just because you apply one time does not mean that you do not need to reapply. Oftentimes, students like to go to places where there are beaches and where there's beautiful weather, and that's great. But sometimes being in the sun can burn you if you're out there too long and you don't have sunscreen. So that is something else that we absolutely try to encourage students, and making sure that if you have any protective gear, so beyond sunscreen, making sure that if you have sunglasses or a hat or an umbrella, all of those things play a role to protect yourself from the sun. We also encourage students to use a buddy system so that they do not go out alone. So if they choose to go out, make sure that they go with someone that they are familiar with, so that they will not be alone. Once again, oftentimes students are traveling to places they've never been before and they might not be familiar with. So a buddy system is always good to have someone with you, to have an accountability, to have someone to check in with, all of those things. A buddy system is really important for. The last one is a staycation, right? Sometimes students are not able to travel, and that is okay. I think sometimes the pressure of traveling, of where to go and what to do. So we encourage students that if you're not traveling, a staycation is a great budget-friendly option that provides you with an opportunity to practice self-care. Because students have a week off, being able to take care of yourself, being able to recharge, being able to reset, to rejuvenate is really important during that week, because once they return, they're back in classes and back to exams. So making sure that they make that week as meaningful as possible is really important. And so staycation is also an option to stay where they are and to not travel, and to be able to listen to their bodies and take care of themselves as best as possible. We actually have a safe spring break event that we are hosting on Thursday on Tech Walkway, which is Tech Green area. So with that, I gave you a snapshot of some of the messaging that we will provide to students. The difference is that we have gamified it a bit. So every table, we use a passport, right? So think about traveling. You've got to have a passport. So you've got to have a stamp for each table that you attend. And each table has a different message for students, whether it's related to alcohol safety, whether it's related to a buddy system, all of the messages that I try to incorporate. We also partner with our colleagues from different departments. So we will also have a table for the Center for Mental Health Care to have accessibility to students, to talk about taking care of your mental health during spring break. Our campus recreation partners will be there to talk about recreation and spring break. The Office of Student Integrity will be there to talk about policies and making sure that as a student that they still understand the code of conduct within that space. So this is a snapshot. We will have some very fun giveaways that we provide for students as well. It's for them to be able to take on their spring break. So if you could inform your students about this event, we would love to have them be able to attend. And then the last slide is just questions. What questions do you have for me regarding spring break, what we are doing in my office or what other offices are doing to prepare for students?
I have a quick follow-up question for
Yeah.
the event on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
You spoke earlier in your slides about staycation. We
Mm-hmm.
know and recognize that some students are not going to travel. Will there be something for them at this event that they can kind of take as
Absolutely.
well? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great.
Yeah, so absolutely. So because staycation is one of the recommendations that we have, we do inform them of different activities that they can do when it comes to a staycation. Because taking care of themselves is what we really want to promote, self-care. So what does that look like? So being able to inform students of different activities or strategies that they can utilize to take care of themselves during that week is something that is absolutely available. And the Center for Mental Health Care will talk about that as well, of like, how are you going to take care of yourself over spring break?
I personally love a staycation.
Me too. I
So
wish I could take one, right? I'm
I
like, oh,
know.
I need one.
Joy, thank you for this information. All right, families, we're going to turn it over to you. Do you have any follow-up questions for Joy? And it doesn't necessarily have to be just centered around spring break,
Yeah.
but of course, we wanted to acknowledge, right, that is happening next week, and there may have some feelings and thoughts, that come along with that, as well as, you can even think about going into the summer night.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they aren't traveling this spring break, but they might be traveling this summer.
Yeah.
So just any questions that you might have along that. I know I'll also reflect that while we're waiting on any questions that when you were talking about the sunscreen part and just taking care of
Mm-hmm.
your skin, I find that I feel like I have seasonal forgetfulness where I'm like, I haven't thought about those
Right. You didn't need
patterns.
it.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that it's the same with students where it's like, okay, I was on it. So, I was on it so
Yes.
much during last summer, because we have such lengthy summers here in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
But I find myself always like when it starts to ramp up with the bright sun and the hotter temps that I need to be putting it on my face to be,
Yes.
just walking around campus. So yeah, such good reminders. It makes me also think of like when my kid was little, where I'm like, I just feel like we always just have to
Yeah.
stay behind our kids about this kind of stuff. So
Yes.
all right, y'all.
Absolutely.
Anything? No questions yet? Joy did such a great job just talking
I
about.
don't know about that. Hopefully, I think anything is on the table too. Like if there's
Right.
something of maybe you feel like there's something I didn't share that we should share for students. That's something I'm always interested in knowing too.
And maybe a quick, if you want to pop in that I'm curious to know whose students are traveling.
Traveling, right?
Do we have a
Or
majority?
do we have some staycations, right? And how are they feeling about that?
Take a second and let us know what you're thinking. Any travelers? Maybe are they traveling home to see you during spring break?
Right. That'll be fun, I'm sure.
A very quiet group today. Um, well, I guess anything, we've chunked it out to what's happening, with the event, of course, next week. Is there anything, I guess, we can, kind of, oh, wait, we might have one. Hi from Georgia. A group of friends are taking a short trip
Oh,
in
to the
the mountains.
mountains. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
A great place.
Was just there this weekend. So, what a great place to retreat to for a little bit. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, always just I find encouraging students, just like Joy was saying, encourage that time away, even if it is just
Mm-hmm.
here in Atlanta, just you've got to take
Exactly.
mental break. I know our students really, um, I know our students in our office, our student leaders are really looking forward to it. And
Mm-hmm.
they actually all got together on their own on Saturday night, which made me, as the mama bear of parent family programs, really excited. I didn't plan it, but they planned it
Oh,
themselves as a kind of kickoff to,
I love that.
a little bit of spring break and just having a good time together. So, um, but that's awesome. I'm glad that they're going and taking some time
Yeah.
away.
And the beauty is it's not that far in proximity, right? So you can feel like you're away,
Mhm.
and not have to take a flight or have to drive 10 hours. So that always helps too.
If you're not familiar with how easy it is to get to the North Georgia mountains, it is just a quick, probably hour trip up the road.
Mm-hmm.
And so they could even go for the day. So, maybe even some encouragement of, hey, just, grab a couple of buddies, use that buddy
Exactly.
system and just go
Use
for
the buddy
the afternoon.
system. Mm-hmm.
So anything as we march forward to the end of the semester that might come to mind, Joy, about just overall, either additional programming that you all are doing between now and, finals, because we are definitely at that point in the semester where it's starting to feel kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
snowball. So
Mm-hmm.
anything that you want to highlight from your area just to as like general reminders?
Yeah, I think one thing to think about spring break and how it kind of falls in the semester is students are looking to disconnect because when they come back, it's typically grind, go, I've got to do all of these exams for the end of the semester. And so it can be stressful. And so that's why we really encourage students to do something to recharge and reset and rejuvenate. And so if you are speaking with your students and they sound stressed, and you might think, well, why are they stressed? And spring break is next week. Even though spring break is next week, there's still a lot that they have to accomplish before spring break. And then when they return, there's a lot to accomplish. And so what I've heard students say is, sometimes they spend their spring break studying, right? And so you might think, well, why would that happen? Is because when they are returning, they might have to return to exams and different um, timelines when it comes to the semester. So what we do is that, of course, we try to encourage students to disconnect and take the time, but also what we do at the end of the semester on reading day is that we provide encouraging messages to students. And we also provide them snacks to say, hey, good luck for finals, because it can be really stressful. And so when you think about all that's on a student's plate, the littlest thing, sometimes they forget, which is eating. And so we want to make sure that they have snacks and they have things to make sure that food is fuel. And so we try to really encourage that by giving them options so that if they are having to be on campus all day, that they don't forget to eat and take care of themselves. And so that is one thing that I would just encourage you, is to make sure you check in with your students. And if they find themselves stressful, asking them, hey, have you eaten? Right? Because even though it seems like a basic necessity, sometimes when you are stressed, you do forget to eat. And so making sure that they are taking care of themselves as best as possible, making sure they're getting enough sleep. Right. So that is something also that's important, that can often be deprived during this time in college. So making sure that they're getting enough sleep, that they're eating, that they're able to be as productive as possible. And there are a number of resources, not only within my camp, but on campus. So if they find themselves overwhelmed and needing to talk to someone, please make sure that you reach out to Sharon or myself so that we can guide you on where to go to be able to support your students.
Yeah, I think you can, maybe have a good conversation of evaluation going into spring
Mm-hmm.
break. Where are their deficits? Are there deficits
Yes.
in a social interaction? Is it in sleep?
Mm-hmm.
All those things, and maybe you can kind of, work towards the right recipe of encouragement
Right.
for your student, because students are obviously all different and have their their deficits and their need for fuel in different
Mm-hmm.
ways. So yeah, we really hope that your students are going to be taking some sort of break, whether it is just a little extra rest in their dorm room, or getting a group of friends and going out and doing a couple things, just here in Atlanta, or just going
Right.
for a drive a couple of times during the week. So because it is a short
It
runway when we
is.
get
Mm-hmm.
to finals. I think I just counted it up. It's about 4.5 weeks once they get back from their finals. I mean, once they get back from their, sorry,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
construction in our
And
building. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it
no, it's okay. We can't.
started again. So anyway,
Yeah. And
but
4 weeks is a month, right? So when you really think about, which is why I mentioned of like if they seem stressed over spring break and you're like, this is the time to unwind. Another acronym that I would ask you to think about that we utilize is the HALT acronym, right? And the HALT stands for H stands for Are you hungry?
mm,
Right? The A stands for Are you angry? Right? And if you so, what is that about? The L stands for Are you lonely?
mm,
Right? And the T stands for Are you tired? Right? And sometimes when individuals are off, right, it typically has to do with one of those four things, right? And so being able to say, hey, have you eaten? And you don't have to say, like, okay, the H is done, now the A, now the L, the T. But oftentimes, if you find your students are off, right, like being able to kind of check in that way could be really helpful for you to be able to kind of see where this is coming from and how you can best support them.
yeah, yep. That's great information. Any quick follow-up questions, you guys, as we kind of further that conversation along? I think just look for those deficits. Especially if they are traveling somewhere internationally. Joy provided a lot of really good thoughts in the beginning about ways to check in with them before they leave and make sure they have what they need. And, we're just kind of, gently talking through, right? We can't pack their suitcases for them. We can't do all those things, but I think, helping them gently think through their next steps of a staycation or a trip are really really can be really profound and can really have big gains, I think, for the end of the term, because if they don't have take that moment of kind of a timeout for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
it could be, it could be a really long and lonely rest of the semester. So we hope you hear us that we want to encourage it. And if there's anything we can do to provide
Absolutely.
ideas or anything like that, or follow-up questions, please let us know. All right. Well, we won't beg and plead for questions anymore. But we thank y'all for being here. I know it's kind of
Yeah.
a little small group of us here. We will have this recorded so that you can review these slides if you need to moving forward. But thank you so much, Joy, for your time
Yeah,
together and
absolutely.
visiting with us. So,
Yes. If
all
there's
right.
anything I can do, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. If you think of a question after,
Yep.
feel free to email me.
Yep. All right, Joy. Thank you
All
so much. Thank you,
right. You all have a
families.
great day.
Go
See you
Jackets.
later. Go Jackets.